Hey, book girlies. I'm defeated and upset and cranky McCrakerpants.
Hey, gamer guys. What a great day.
I hate you so much. Who are you?
Just kidding. It's Ian.
And you're listening to a pot of sass and sarcasm. Okay, so listen up, folks, because I'm cranky. By the end of this episode, I better not be cranky. But the thing is, I was editing some episodes today, and I decided to split one recording that was more than an hour long into separate episodes, and so then I was taking audio from multiple sources or multiple recordings, and I was pushing them all together and making it into a cohesive episode, and everything was going great. I was like, we're just gonna need to record a couple little things like an intro and an outro, and it'll be fine. And then my program kept crashing, okay? And that's not that big of a deal because there's an autosave function, but then the autosave function decided to fail today, I guess. Or at least it worked every time that I tried to reopen the program. But then when I went looking for the file that it autosaved and I had all my work done after hours, it just disappeared, right? And then I'm like, well, this is stupid. And then some of the files became corrupted. And I'm like, you're kidding me. How do you do? And I'm trying to uncorrupt these files, but then there's no codec. And I'm like, I don't know enough about computers to make this kind of thing like actually where I am but a simpleton, okay? I am a dum-dum just trying to talk about books, okay? That's all I wanted out of this. So, forgive me in this episode if the audio is real wild and doesn't match because I tried real hard, and there are certain things that we've had to re-record a couple of times, and I think I'm gonna die just a little bit, but it's fine. We'll be fine. So
I'm not so sure. I don't know if you'll be fine. So any listeners out there, if you have a better program for
editing audio. I downloaded Audacity because that's apparently the best audio. It looks like a program from the 90s. That's how it looks, like it's never been updated since the 90s.
Yeah, I've used it before.
And they were like, you can fix corrupted files with it. And I'm like, cool. And I tried it. No. There's nothing in it. I don't even hear static. I just hear nothing. It doesn't have the waveform. It doesn't have any. It's just empty. And it makes me upsetty spaghetti. So, do you want to make me not upsetty spaghetti and tell me about some of your games?
I would love to.
So last time you were telling me about your characters in Warframe, and not really a lot of your characters, but you'd said that you got a new one, and it was Amber Prime.
Amber Prime.
Not Amber Prime, Amber.
Ember
Prime. You also got a weapon that was something or other Prime.
I did.
So, there's a regular version of Ember, and then there's Ember Prime.
Yeah.
When you get Ember Prime, if you already had Ember Regular, do you lose Ember Regular, or do you get two Embers?
You'd have two Embers, because it's two different things.
Why do they have the same name?
Because one's just better than the other one. Just flat out. It's just flat out better.
You know what that reminds me of? It reminds me of when I was in school and there was always another Sarah. That other Sarahs usually spelled their name with an H and I spell it correctly without an H. So, we're the same because we're both Sarah, but I'm clearly better. Sorry, continue.
Yeah, one's just way better. Well, it's not necessarily way better. It just starts off at a better place.
Ability-wise, or?
The abilities are the same, but you start out with more energy when energy is used for inserting more mods. And mods are the thing in the game that lets you change how stuff works.
Okay, interesting. So Prime is better than regular?
Yeah, pretty much. But the regular still has a use. There is another feature of the game where you can subsume them. And what that does is, if you take a non-primed Warframe and you feed it to this thing...
Feed it to what?
It's like a weird eldritch being that's within your ship.
What?
Yeah.
You sacrifice?
Yeah, you sacrifice your warframe, you feed it to this thing, and then you can take one of its abilities and put it on any other warframe.
So even a warframe that didn't have that ability and
Yes.
wouldn't normally get that ability ever?
Yes.
But it can only be the non-primed ones?
Yes. So they still have a purpose.
So for weapons, you've got like your base, your wrath, your prime, your incarnate that can be added onto all of them.
Yes.
But then for warframes, you've got base and prime.
Mm-hmm.
And you, as an asshole, will sacrifice your base babies.
Yep.
To literally the monster of probably the woods that I'm reading about.
It's not quite the woods monster, but you do get to name it.
Okay.
And you feed it stuff.
You don't say stuff like you're giving it cute little treats. You're murdering things.
I'm feeding it semi-conscious robots, potentially. And then a couple other things.
Okay, so you said that the warframe is like a vessel that can be possessed by your operator in the Tenno or some other faction. When your warframe dies, quote unquote, because apparently it's a robot, whatever. I still would get too emotionally attached to it. But when your warframe is sacrificed to this eldritch forest god, what happens to you as the operator?
Nothing.
Okay, but like you said earlier that like the warframes don't know that they're operators, that they're being operated by
At the beginning of the story, your character doesn't know that. You don't know operators exist.
Right, so you believe you are the warframe.
Yeah, then you go through some kind of like memory journey.
How do you not know that you're an operator? Because like I'm thinking like, okay, like if the operator is making the choice to sacrifice this thing to give that power to that's what's happening, right? Is that it's technically the operator's choice because you as the oh my god, that's way too meta because it's like you playing the role of an operator who is then playing the role of a warframe. Too many things. But you are the operator as the actual player.
Mm-hmm.
And you are making the decision to sacrifice your warframe. What does your warframe think if it doesn't know that you are operating it? What if it's like, I'm just gonna go up to this eldritch god and be like, bite me, and then it does?
It costs resources, so it's not, I won't eat you for free.
What?
Yep.
That is absurd.
You don't like my eldritch being that I keep in another room in my ship?
He's on your ship with you?
Yeah, I don't know. He was just always there. He was just hanging out.
Why doesn't he eat the operators? Why does he eat robots? Is he like iron deficient?
I may have skipped that part if it was ever explained in the first place.
Okay. I'll ask more questions later. It's fine. Can we get into the book?
I suppose we can get into the book. Got you that paper there, Professor?
It was upside down. I think I'm gonna die. So quick recap. We are getting dangerously close to the end of Here There Are Monsters by Amelinda Berube. Attempted murderer Skye Mackenzie is trying to rescue her sister from the clutches of the forest monsters. To do so, she's been striking some terrible and highly questionable bargains with the woods. She made her friends, aka the invaders, hate her by confessing to her crime of nearly drowning a boy named Tyler in her old hometown. She then assaulted William and Kevin. She tossed Sophie's phone into the middle of the road and skedaddled on into the woods. She agreed to make a bone puppet guide for the woods. And of course, she dragged William into the mix because she was grounded and needed an escort to the woods. And William was there and he's really nice and was like, yeah, I'll walk with you. And she's like, sit on this rock. And he's like, okay, but does he actually sit on the rock? No.
Of course not.
He doesn't because he thinks she's burying a body because, I mean, given her history, why wouldn't you think that? So, of course, the woods having his conversation with Skye being like, oh, nice little bone puppet you've got for me. And then it goes, wait, what is that?
Gross. Don't be sniffling. Stop.
William, is that you? He's like, William, come here. I have a big question for you.
Oh, William.
William?
Is that William the Fifth?
And so it decides to strike a bargain with William, and William agreed to bring a literal handful of his father's blood to bring the bone puppet to life. And then, of course, he spends the next several days trying to find a way out of this agreement. And I'm like, William, where'd your bargaining skills go? So Skye, getting very frustrated with William trying to find a way out of this, feeling like this isn't going to help get her sister home, decides to give him a gentle nudge, or what she would consider a gentle nudge, and left various dead animals on his doorstep in the middle of the night. You know, just casual serial killer shit.
Normal serial killer behavior.
But she's not a psycho, okay?
No, she says she's a psycho.
She does.
She's like, I'm Psycho Skye.
It's true. While William begins to lose his goddamn mind and is like, there's a fucking raccoon on my doorstep, then there's a porcupine, then there's a rabbit, which I didn't talk about this last time, but the fact that she had a raccoon, porcupine, and a rabbit, we found very interesting of saying, like, and we tried to figure out who was who. Like, we said that Sophie would have been the raccoon, Kevin would have been the porcupine, and Will would have been, I don't know why I call him Will. He's always William in the book, but I often will go Will. William would be the rabbit. But I think earlier, the Woods, when it was making the bargain with William, was comparing him, because Skye said that he was harmless, and it was like, oh, are you harmless? Are you prey? Are you a rabbit? Rabbits have teeth, though, and whatever. So I do think it's interesting that she did end up putting a rabbit on his doorstep.
That was the first one, right? A rabbit?
No, the raccoon was the first one.
Oh, okay.
So anyway, so she left her little serial killer presence on the doorstep, and while William is freaking out about it, Sophie starts threatening Skye and being like, you better stay away from William. And Skye's like, or what? And she's like, or I'm going to tell your mom.
Or I'm going to tell on you.
Basically. And so she threatens to expose Skye's attempted murder secret to her parents because, yeah. And so the last time that we left off, Skye was helping William dispose of the porcupine and the rabbit that she had left on his doorstep the previous night. Not seen by anybody, which I still find suspicious, but whatever. And of course, in the middle of them cleaning up, Sophie just happens to drive by and is like, oh, hello, Skye.
What are you doing here?
I thought I told you to stay away from William. Man, I guess I'll be paying you a visit later, like I promised. Because I have a lot to discuss with your mother. So true to her word, Sophie does pay Skye a visit later that day. Sarah had answered the door and asked Skye to come down to say hi to her friend, and just as Sarah was about to excuse herself from the conversation, because again, she's going through a lot, Sophie says that Skye actually needs to tell her something. And Skye's like, no, I don't. And Sophie is giving Skye an opportunity to take ownership of the narrative and actually take responsibility for her actions, and Skye is like, nope. That's all you, boo. You go. You got it.
You say whatever you want to my distraught mother who just lost her other daughter.
Yes. So just as Sophie is about to bring up what Skye did to Tyler, there's a knock at the door. And William just barges on in and is like, hey, can I join you for this conversation you're about to have? And I'm like, oh my god, this is so chaotic as fuck. I can't handle it. Mm-hmm. And Sarah's like, can we just get to the fucking point here, please? And William throws a wrench into this whole conversation. Mm-hmm. I was just saying, Sophie picks up after exchanging a look with William, that before she attacked us, Skye was telling us about this guy from her old school. I closed my eyes, waiting for the axe to fall. Someone who was bothering her sister. It sounded like she hurt him pretty bad, and we thought... That's not true, William said. His voice slices quietly through hers, through the scream building in my chest. That's not true. There's an endless... crushing silence. I can't breathe. Mom looks back and forth between the two of them with a stone face that could rival mine. Excuse me? Sophie says, with a winded half laugh, a sound of utter disbelief. I said, it's not true. I'm really sorry, Mrs. Mackenzie, but she's making this up. I was there. That's not what happened. Are you kidding me? Sophie doesn't raise her voice. You're trying to cover for her now? Really? What the hell, William? Back off, Sophie. I mean it. You're seriously doing this. You're seriously going to do this after I came over yesterday and she's jealous, William says grimly, raising his voice a little to cut her off. That's all this is. I don't know if Skye mentioned it, but Sophie and I went out for a little while last year, and she's been trying to blackmail Skye into staying away from me, and now she's mad that it didn't work. You did not just say that, Sophie breathes. Prove me wrong, Soph, William replies bleakly. My daughter is missing. Mom's words are quiet, heavy as stones. She might be dead. So whatever drama you three are trying to dump into my lap, I'm really not interested in sorting it out. The quiet turns glacial, miles thick, impossible to break. You need to leave, Mom says in her very best manager voice. Both of you. Mrs. Mackenzie, I don't know what his problem is, but I would never. I said leave! Now. Sophie gets to her feet, face flushed. She doesn't look at me, only at William. You, she tells him, are making an epic mistake. She pushes past him, heading for the stairs. Sophie, wait, William says, and when she doesn't pause, he follows her, thumping down the stairs. Sophie! Mom is slouched in place, massaging her temples, not even looking at me. My heart just is breaking for Sarah because she's my girl. I'm here for Sarah. Because regardless of how Deidre went missing, this is such a painful experience I can imagine for a parent. I agree with what I think Sophie is justified in wanting to tell Sarah about this whole situation with Tyler and all that kind of stuff. Because from Sophie's perspective, she doesn't know about all the other spooky ooky shit that's going on. So it seems right. It seems like the right thing to do. It's justified. But, like, consider the timing, Sophie. Even if there wasn't this weird spooky ooky shit going on, this is not the time to tell Mrs. Mackenzie that her current daughter, who is not missing, is kind of a piece of shit. And then while your other daughter is very much missing and could be dead, you know? I think
I was like, Sophie, you don't actually know how to play this stuff.
You don't know how to play this game. I mean, unless Sophie is really under the belief that Skye was responsible for Deidre's disappearance. But then again, if she did believe that Skye was responsible, then why would she be comfortable having Skye in the room for that conversation? You know what I mean? So it's like, it's one thing if you're like, okay, I think Skye is kind of crazy and dangerous and you should know about that. Yeah, but this isn't the time for that. And if you're like, I think, Mrs. Mackenzie, that you need to know that your child is dangerous, why would you invite Skye into that conversation? You know, that's... whatever. And also, why wouldn't she go to the police? You know what I mean? Like,
it's teenager shit. They try to exclude the police as much as possible.
Well, because I get that William asked her not to go to the police, but if she was genuinely worried about Skye being this psycho killer who maybe, like, offed her sister or something, because that's kind of the narrative that at least Kevin has been spinning, why wouldn't she go to the police? That doesn't make sense. Why, or at least why not go to her parents? I think that she is being the spider that Skye has, clocked her at being. I think she is doing it for the drama of it all because she likes the drama. She likes manipulating people, and she's trying to see if she can manipulate Skye into doing what she wants. And it's not working super well because Skye's like, whether you like it or not, Sophie, I have to see William for some of this shit. You don't get to know about it, but fuck off. So later that evening, William texts Skye and asks her to meet him in the empty lot. He's finally ready to start playing the forest game. When I get to the clearing, he's already there, sitting as far away as he can from the glassy-eyed monster, but staring intently at it, chin resting on his folded hands, jogging his knees up and down. Hey, I say, when he doesn't seem to see me. Even then, he doesn't look up. His face is pale and set. You were right, he says. It snowed since this morning, leaving a thin, patchy crust not deep enough for boots. The wind drives flecks of ice like needles. Even the cedars don't do much to break it. I hug my coat tighter and crunch across the clearing to perch on William's log. The tension radiating from him keeps an automatic distance between us. We're like magnets pushing each other away. Sophie's in the hospital, he says, at last. The words are lightning, striking home. I sit, transfixed, unable to speak, unable to move. She was on her way to work. She takes Old Almonte Road so she doesn't have to deal with the left turn onto the highway. Old Almonte Road. The one that cuts across the swamp. She crashed her mom's car. Totaled it, pretty much. Broke her knee. Her mom said she's going to need surgery. Her mom said... He pauses, forces the words out between his teeth, that something wandered out in front of them. Something weird. There should be a word for this, for a problem suddenly, horribly erased, bringing no relief, no satisfaction. I refuse to be reminded of those empty, ashy days after Tyler, the quiet that set in as the rumors spread. This time it wasn't me. This wasn't my fault. You were right, William repeats. His voice teeters on the edge of breaking. I should have listened. Across the clearing, my monster's mismatched eyes glint out at us, its cedar crest trembling in the wind. I bet they're laughing. I can almost hear it in the ringing that fills my ears. My dad's going hunting this weekend, William says beside me, still not looking at me. It's the last weekend before gun season, you know. He goes with Kevin and his dad every year. He said I could come too this time, if I wanted to. His lips twist. If I could handle it. Oh, is all I can say. He drags his hands down his face, closing his eyes. Bow hunting's pretty safe, you know. But still, anything could happen out there. All kinds of accidents. Listen. Don't. He jerks his arm away from my touch, like it burns. Just don't, okay? I swallow and pocket my hand again. Sorry is a small, stupid word, and I won't voice it. Either he knows or he doesn't. Saying anything will just scatter broken glass for both of us to walk on. As if my presence propels him to his feet, he gets up to pace back and forth along Deidre's stone circles, arms folded, eyes fixed on the ground. How do you even stand it? Not telling people. Are you just planning to tough it out through the end of the world alone? I think maybe you're always alone for the apocalypse. I kick at the crust of snow. That's how you find out who you really are, survivor or zombie. Sure. He looks through the trees, his mouth a thin line. And I'm the guy who'd turn on anyone to save himself, apparently. That's what survivor means, William. It means you do what it takes. Well, I had an idea. I should have thought of it before. Something that might bring your guide to life instead of what they want from me. And you have to be here too, right? In case it works? What are you talking about? When I look up again, he's holding one hand out. He shifts his weight, shakes his head, blows out a breath as if he's bracing himself. Takes me a second to parse the gleam in his other hand. Something held ready over his arm. The flash of an edge. Jesus Christ, William! He steps back, away from me, still holding the razor blade poised. They said they wanted the blood of William Wright. Something wild has crept into his voice. So I have to try this first. I have to. William, don't. Give it here. But when I lurch to my feet, he sucks in a breath and drags the blade down his arm, his lips skinned back from his teeth in a horrible grimace. Fuck! He gasps. He drops the razor, clenches his hand over the wound. It has to hurt, right? That hurts like a motherfucker. He holds his arm out to me, blood seeping up between his fingers and little red lines, welling over them to drip onto the ground. That should be enough, shouldn't it? He asks. Isn't that enough? The words ring away into the trees, into silence. Somewhere a crow calls, laughing. Between us, the figure I built stands empty as ever, the skull hanging slightly askew, ridiculous. A parody of something that was ever alive. Come on, William pleads. He wipes his bloody fingers on it, leaving red smears across its long face. But a minute slides by. Another, and we're the only things that move. William sinks onto the ground, sitting hard in the snow, curled over his injured arm. The blood runs in jagged lines toward his elbow. I come unfrozen enough to yank a strip of cloth from my pocket. He doesn't resist when I take his fingers, pull his hand toward me. The wound is like a mouth, not that long. A clean, red slice, edged in pink white. I will not think about the ragged edges of the raccoon's belly, the wet, red insides of the rabbit skin. I tie the cloth around it, cinch it tight, wind it round and round. Red blooms through the fabric in rusty patches. It doesn't matter, he says through his teeth. They're chattering with cold, or nerves. His face has gone oatmeal pale. It doesn't make a difference. I'm not like you. I can't do this. Don't be an idiot. My voice won't stay firm, has slipped off its foundations. You don't want to be like me. I'm a psycho, remember? And I'm harmless. I'm pathetic. The only thing wrong with being harmless is that it makes you a target. You're just a decent human being, unlike some of us. And you might need stitches or something. He shakes his head, his hair falling around his face. I can't do it, he cries. I have to, and I can't. I don't want to hurt anybody. I don't want to hurt my dad. There's nothing left to say to that. Nothing to do except put my arm around his shoulders and lean my head against his while he struggles to choke down tears. The woods stand over us, watching.
I almost said ooh. I wanted to say, ooh, that's good.
I wanted to, like, edit some of those pieces out because I don't want to just, like, have the whole book out on display and whatever, but, like, that was such a good section that I was like, I just gotta put the whole scene in there.
Yeah, that whole part was really well written.
Yes.
And I was like, why didn't he just offer his own blood in the beginning? I don't understand. But of course now, that wasn't what the deal was.
I think the other thing is that whole point about it has to hurt. And while, yeah, physically that hurt him, I think it's not the same kind of hurt as the betrayal he will feel when he basically betrays his dad. Like, it's a betrayal against himself and against his dad.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the hurt that he's supposed to feel for this. Like, it's payment. It's supposed to be painful in this way. And because it's his choice or his terms, it's not going to work. But then there's also a part of me that wonders if maybe the forest is still just playing games.
Mm-hmm.
Because I wonder if William's blood was enough to bring the guide to life.
And it's just not moving.
And it's just not moving, and it's not going to move until after they leave. I think more realistically, this is going to be one of those situations where it is going to try to push William past his breaking point and turning him into a monster in the same way that Skye has become kind of a monster in her life because she's a fucking attempted murderer and all that kind of stuff. I don't know. I could see it happening both ways where maybe he goes on this hunting trip and
shoots his dad with the bow.
Makes an accident, quote unquote, happen and gets his dad's blood for nothing. Like maybe the guide is already built and there and ready. Or he does still have to go and make that accident happen to make the guide come to life. I don't know. I'm very intrigued and I'm nervous because I feel like we are encroaching on the end of the book.
Yeah.
Because we're already in the last third.
And like we thought, the swamp has something to do with it.
Mm-hmm. Because of Sophie's car accident.
And the woods is like, I gotta get her out of here. She's causing problems.
She's causing too many problems. And then on top of that, there's Sarah being the boss-ass bitch that she is. I wonder if she's gonna get pulled into it at all. If she knows anything about magic and the magic of the woods. Because of her comment about how she feels like something is pushing her out. So after that night, we cut to probably the next day when Skye is woken up in the living room by her mom, who is offering her some tea. Apparently, Skye fell asleep in the rocking chair because her room's been taken over by the Roots, and she doesn't really feel comfortable sleeping in Deidre's room, so she's just been getting these not great nights of sleep, which doesn't help the situation at all. And her mom is like, I made you some tea. And Skye's like, okay, what's this about? And her mom's like, well, I thought we could talk about things. Mom settles onto the footstool, her hand on my knee. I thought we could talk, maybe, she says, about everything. I close my eyes, close my teeth on the first words that spring to mind. Do we have to? I know I've been kind of preoccupied. Mom persists. I know I came down hard on you. I know I can count on you, Skye. You're my rock. I always know you're going to be okay. You're the person in this house I never have to worry about. There's something going on with you lately, isn't there? I don't want to pry. I really don't. I'm just worried about you. Nothing's... Skye, come on. I'm standing in a floodlight. I'm on the road with the headlights bearing down on me. They can't start asking me questions. Not now. Every time I turn around, there are more eyes on my back. More ways this whole thing could go straight to hell. My face is going hot. My eyes blurry. Great. I'm so tired. Sooner or later I'll stumble. I'll make a mistake. I'll have to keep it together. My phone's placid chime saves me from having to answer, but the screen lights up with William's number. Oh God, what now? Go ahead, Mom urges, sitting back, but not budging from her seat. You obviously need to talk. I push myself out of the chair and swipe at the screen. Hi, my voice is unmistakably stuffy, but it'll have to do. Can you come to Kevin's place? William sounds as tired and strung out as I am. Like, now? So William decides to go on this trip with his dad and Kevin's dad. And he calls up Skye and is like, hey Skye, if I'm gonna do this, I'm doing it my way. And she's like, bad idea. He's like, I'm gonna tell Kevin. And she's like, why would you drag somebody else into this? And he's like, listen, I'm gonna tell Kevin. And he is either going to think I'm crazy and won't let me go on this hunting trip, or you can come over and back me up so that he believes me and is at least aware of what's going to be happening so that, you know, we can manage this. Because he's like, I don't want to go into this with nobody knowing what the fuck this is for, you know?
Nah, he needs to just shoot his dad in the back with an arrow or whatever it is. On X. Now this is collusion. This is just like Skye.
So Sky's like, fine, let me get over there. Because William is obviously also very urgently being like, I'm telling him about this right now. I'm over at his house. You better fucking get here. And Sky's like, shit, fine, I'll be over there. And this is also in the middle of Sky's mom trying to have a heart-to-heart with her and being like, what's going on with you and William? And Sky's like, now you care? Like, you couldn't have looked up, I don't know, anytime in the last 6 months from your computer screen to, like, talk to me about shit that's been going on in my life, and really, this is the time? No, you don't get to ask me questions about this. I've got to go. Bye! And I'm like, wow, ballsy, but okay. Mm-hmm. Which, here's the thing. I feel like Sky is very unfair to her parents especially, but especially to her mom, because we never really see her mom doing the things that she claims that her mom is doing. So it's a very biased, judgmental, and to me inaccurate portrayal of what her mom is like. But anyways, so she just leaves Sarah and is like, I gotta go, right? So she gets to Kevin's house and Kevin's like, you guys are fucking insane. This is not fucking funny, you guys, Kevin declares. Why did you tell him? I demand, rounding on William. Why him? Newsflash, Kevin snaps. He's got actual friends. Guys, please, William says wearily. Kevin focuses on him again, all intensity. Seriously, do you not get how textbook this sounds? Hearing voices telling you to hurt somebody? I know, but it's not just me, Kev. That's why I called Sky, to prove it. Are you kidding? What have you been smoking? He jumps to his feet, stabs a finger at me. I don't know how the hell you've managed to hypnotize him into this, but William puts a hand on his arm, but he shakes it off. Why would you trust her? Kevin demands. Why would you believe a single thing she says? Look at her. Oh, fuck you, Kevin, I snap, goaded past endurance. I see you, Kevin fires back. I've always seen you. You're not as good an actress as you think you are. Look, William pleads. I know how it sounds, okay? But we both saw them. We were both right there. This thing was standing over her like it was going to eat her heart. Think about it for a second. Maybe this explains everything. Does it explain why she tortured some guy? Or are you just going to ignore that? That's beside the point, William says doggedly. You have to believe me. You have to. They already got Sophie. Sophie was in a car accident. Her mom was there. And she said something stepped out onto the road. So what, you're a part of this conspiracy too now? Listen to yourself. I'm not asking you to help, okay? I'm the only one who can do this. I know that, but I need you to know what's going on. What I've gotten you into. Kevin pushes past me. Where are you going? William calls after him. I'm telling your dad what you're up to, obviously. You can't do that. My voice goes shrill beyond control. Kev, William says, panic in every line of his face. No, please. I have to, Kevin shouts. Unlike her, I actually care what happens to you. I lunge after him as he's turning away from me, seize his arm in both hands, twist it back and around so he has to face me. What are you gonna do, huh? Guys, William says, pale face. Are you gonna drown me somewhere? Guys? Going to kick my ass? Great, that'll be super convincing. Guys? William drops his voice to a screaming whisper. Kevin, shut up. Kevin opens his mouth to retort, but William puts a hand out to stop him, holds a trembling finger to his lips. A long, faint, whispering sound breaks the silence, like a stick being dragged across the face of the house. Close the door, William hisses. Close the fucking door. Even when I let him go, Kevin doesn't budge. His eyes flick to the woods and back to us. Not funny, he repeats. Who the hell did you con into? But he stops short as something reaches into view through the side light, tapping its way across the glass. Something bony, purposeful, with too many fingers spread in a thin fan. A blunt-fanged skull bobs into view, staring at us from an eyeless socket, bones showing through the feathers on its winged crown. Kevin stumbles into me, away from it. But all the creature does is lift the comb of ribs that form its hand, holds it edgewise to its muzzle in a stiff but unmistakable mockery of William's gesture a moment ago. A whisper drifts through the screen, a languid brush against my face. Shh. Then, with a bow, a flourish, it staggers out of sight, back the way it came. The snapping of branches is the only sign it was ever here, and even that quickly fades under the eaves of the trees. Kevin looks at us. Jesus fuck, he says. Get in here, you idiot. William yanks him back inside, slams the door behind us, leans against it. Jesus fuck, Kevin repeats. His stare is still fixed on the side window. Do you get it now? I demand. Do you? Shut up, he says, without feeling, sagging ghost pale against the railing. Oh my god, I'm gonna puke. Just breathe, William says. That is so not helpful. Kevin grinds the heels of his palms into his eyes. This has to be a bad dream. I've been waiting to wake up for days now, William says. You're lucky you didn't end up with some sort of job too. Kevin looks up again, back and forth between us. You're just listening to those things? Not this again. Do you see an alternative? What about your ninja skills? Kevin demands. You're not gonna fight them? They have my sister. How many times do I have to say it? I can't. I don't think we have a choice, Kev. William folds his arms, maybe bracing himself to hold his ground. It just makes him look smaller, cold and lost. Kevin has rallied enough to glower at me. Did she tell you that? Kevin, for fuck's sake, I cry. She did, didn't she? He laughs, incredulous. She's the one who dragged you into this. Why are you listening to her? Maybe because I'm right. You think I wanted this to happen? You think I wanted any of this? I think, Kevin snaps, that you would shove anybody under a bus if it would save your ass. Including me, including him. Come on, Kev. She's doing all of this to save her sister. What?
I'm gonna predict the next line. So what happens when it tells her to kill one of us?
Pretty much.
And she's gonna be like, this is what happens. What's happening right now?
So what happens when they tell her it's you or her sister? What happens then?
Oh, not quite what I thought.
They both look at me. I glare back, stone-faced. Say it, Kevin insists. What happens then? I don't know, I say raggedly. Truthfully. What would you do, since it's so obvious I could use the advice? He's not doing it, Tevin? Who the fuck is Tevin? He's not doing it, Kevin declares, and cuts William off when he starts to protest. You're not. What the hell kind of friend would I be if I'm okay with this? And how exactly do you think they're gonna react if you stop him? Why are you even still here? Kevin blazes. You were here to convince me that they're real. Fine, I'm convinced. Get the fuck out of my house.
And then on the way out, Sky goes, I'm looking at you. Fucking do it, you pussy. This has been like 5 more days my sister's been in the woods.
So Kevin knows. He knows everything. And again, Sky is feeling very helpless that it's out of her hands. It's just for William to figure it out. So now she has to wait until they leave for the hunting trip. And then on that day, she gets kind of a bad feeling about everything. Mm-hmm. She's like, he would text me if he was going to back out of it or something or, anything like that. She keeps checking her phone, but nothing's there, obviously. And so then she eventually decides to just run to his house, to William's house. And she knocks on the door and his mom answers and she does not like Sky because remember, Sky beat up William.
Yeah, Sky beat him up.
For no reason.
Smashed his face into a brick wall.
And William hasn't told the whole story. He just said that, Sky's going through a lot and she decided to attack all of us. That's the story he's spun and it doesn't make sense. And Angie doesn't trust Sky because she's like, what the fuck? And Sky was like, hey, is William here? And Angie's like, no, he's off with his dad. Sky asks her if she knows when he'll be back. And Angie's like, not really. Before I reach the end of the walk, she calls my name. When I turn back, she's leaning out the door, looking at me unhappily, biting her lip like she's not sure whether she should speak. You're going through a lot right now, she says. I get that. The statement is so absurd. I could laugh. I choke it down, expressionless, and shrug instead. It's just that William, he's got the kindest heart of any kid you'll ever meet. I don't want to see him get hurt. But he's the kind of person who's doomed to get hurt. I knew it right from the start. I wish I'd never met him. I know. I cram my hands in my pockets and turn away. Me neither. Which feels like foreshadowing. And I'm like, dun, dun, dun. Okay, so then Sunday, I don't know when that is in comparison to when he leaves, but Sunday she gets a text message from William being like, you gotta meet me at the castle. And she's like, fuck. It's happened. We have a handful of blood. We have the blood. So she runs to the castle, and for once William isn't there waiting for her, and she waits for him, and he very slowly walks in because he's very shaken up. He's pale-faced, and he's holding what? I'm like, yeah, I would be too. So he's holding a t-shirt that is pretty crusty at this point. With blood. And he's like, do you think that's enough? And she's like, what happened? And he's like, I don't want to talk about it. And she's like, okay, fair enough. But then he starts talking about it. I don't want to talk about it. Let me talk about it. I didn't think I could do it, he whispers. There's no way I could have done it. But they got to Kevin. We were on our way to the blinds all together, and Kevin and I had been arguing, so he was way ahead of me, and something, at first it looked like he fell, but then he started screaming. Something had his leg. He was halfway down this hole in the ground, and it wouldn't let go. It kept dragging him deeper, bit by bit. I've never heard anybody scream like that before. His voice cracks. He folds his hands over his head. So I did it. I fired while they were all trying to get him out. They all think it was an accident. Even Dad. They got him on the stretcher and he was all, "It's okay, William, shit happens." Yeah, sure. I told them I said I'd drawn in case it was an animal or something and something slipped. Something went wrong. And everyone believes me. Except for Kevin. Obviously. He didn't say anything, but he just looked at me. He was hurt worse than Dad. The guys who picked up his leg said it looked like he'd been attacked by a cougar or something. He closes his eyes. Tears escape down his cheeks. I can still see it. It was like raw meat or that fucking raccoon. It was like, you had to do this, William. You had no choice.
The Woods was just helping you out a little bit. Getting Kevin out of the way. The Woods is very good at that. Getting people out of the way to make you do stuff. It's very involved in these trials, which is weird. It's like, do the thing.
Some severe outside interference happening.
Instead of trying to be like, oh, it's going to be impossible for you, it's like, no, do it.
When he doesn't answer, I press on. You tried to warn Kevin. You did everything you could. You exhausted every other possibility. He passes his sleeve across his face, shakes his head. You did. You slit your own wrist the other day, and when it didn't work, you did what you had to, even though it was horrible. You did it to save your friend.
You did it to save your friend. You sacrificed 2 of your friends to save your new friend.
You did it to save your friend. You look pretty heroic from over here, all right? But I did have a choice. I could have said no. I could have. Right up until the second I let the arrow go. He looks up at me, his eyes red-rimmed. Did I do it to save Kev? I don't know. Maybe I did it to save myself, so they wouldn't come for me next.
It's always that.
Did I do it to save Kev? I don't know. Maybe I did it to save myself, so they wouldn't come for me next. Maybe they just had to convince me that they really would. So, Skye gets too uncomfortable in this conversation, and she's like, cool, thanks for the bloody shirt. And she thinks back to all of the other monsters that she's seen, and how they sort of appeared to be wearing clothes.
Mm. Yeah, that's right, like her sister's skirt or dress?
She tore up Skye's dress, and there were like the sheets and just like other kinds of things that could be made into clothes in some way. So she's like, well, cool that you sopped up all of this blood with a shirt, because we'll make this into an outfit for our little guide. So she puts it on her guide, and it comes to life. The blood has turned the fabric into hard ridges that almost crunch when I tighten my grip. I don't want to look at it. I don't want to think about what's coming next, the half-glimpsed inevitability of it. But William's bleak honesty is a fishhook, dragging it into the light. I have to say something. He insisted on warning Kevin. I have to warn him. You should go before I try this. You did what they wanted. You should go home before they rope you into anything else. Probably, he responds, and doesn't move. They know where to find me anyway, don't they? And I paid for this, all right? I just want to see what it's for. I just want to know that it worked. I have to tell him what he's walking into, but if he turns away, if I manage to convince him to run, to not look back, it means that they lose their prize. It means I lose. It means I surrender. I think of the monsters, a bony antler hand posed to strike. I think of the raccoon, guts spilling out. I can't lose. Surrendering's not an option. Maybe we're supposed to summon them somehow to claim their payment? This is supposed to pay for the guide, isn't it? So then she puts the clothes on and it, comes to life. She's like, holy shit. And it immediately is like, follow me. It doesn't say anything. These things don't talk because way spookier. It immediately like starts walking away from her and she's like, shit, I gotta go follow it. Its body trembles, rattles as if gusts of wind have blown through it. Its head lolls, rolls back and forth as if it's stretching, like an animal testing the wind.
It's used wind twice as a descriptor.
I can't tell if it's wind or wind, but wind makes more sense. I stumble back as its stick arms swing out, flex back and forth, but all it does is cross them over its torso and bend toward me in a little bow. And then it lifts its stone feet and hobbles with surprising speed through the door of the clearing. I run after it, but it's not going far. It reaches out to touch the shaggy back of the castle, and the dirt crumbles and slides away. A hole opens in the slope with a muffled thump and patter, wider and wider, until I'm staring into a tunnel that stretches into darkness, roots snaking down from the ceiling. My guide shuffles through that opening and disappears. A sudden light at my shoulder startles me. The LED of William's phone. He holds it up high to illuminate the corridor. The monster's hitching movement is barely visible at its edge. Come on, he says, and hands me my backpack before we lose it. So they start going through this tunnel.
Mm-hmm.
It's so spooky, and I am spooked, and I have feelings. Okay.
I just wanted to say, I think they said wind multiple times to show that it's the wind giving it life, not necessarily anything else.
Okay. Yeah, I can see that. One of the things that I found kind of interesting about this, if we go back to the rabbit and the porcupine and the raccoon. And she put the raccoon on his doorstep first, which we said is kind of, Sophie.
Mm-hmm.
And then who got injured first?
Oh, yeah.
Sophie got into her car accident. And then, I don't know why she put the porcupine and the rabbit on his doorstep the same night, other than I think it's just
an increase.
Maybe it was
increasing.
An increase or something, or somehow it's the porcupine and the rabbit have to be together.
Mm-hmm.
But then Kevin gets hurt. And he's, the porcupine's face was, completely destroyed, and Kevin's leg is, completely destroyed.
Oh, yeah. He wasn't he didn't play sports, did he? Or is he just a guy? Popular guy number one.
He's the party guy. I think he plays a sport because I think it was way early on in the book when she was saying that William was not this geeky guy that had come over to her house, and that he was one of those people that can fit in with the crowd, with any crowd.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like you could when you were in high school. And so I'm assuming Kevin is the jock type, but I don't actually know if he plays any sports.
Okay.
But he's a party guy.
He's the party guy. Party at my house, everyone.
Yeah, all the time. Getting busted for underage drinking and all that kind of stuff.
Every other day.
Yes. In my head, I'm like, well, William doesn't seem terribly injured yet. I'm nervous about it. I think there's a little bit of foreshadowing when Skye went to talk to his mom, and she's like, William's such a nice guy. I don't want him to get hurt. And I'm like, does that mean he's going to get hurt? So it's weird that she put the porcupine and the rabbit on the doorstep at the same time. But, there was the raccoon relating to Sophie getting hurt first. And then the porcupine, and Kevin got, mauled in a way.
Yeah.
And then...
Well, I would say him shooting his own dad is emotionally hurt. I
guess. Well, and because, I don't
And he doesn't like hurting anything.
Yeah, that's true. And I guess because they were on that trip together, they happened at the same time.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just thought that was really kind of interesting. And I'm really, really spooked to see where this tunnel leads. A magical tunnel in the back of a dirt pile, basically.
Just a little bit of follow me. Well, it doesn't even talk. This one doesn't talk at all.
No. None of the guides, as far as we know, talk. The closest one that comes to talking is the one that showed up on Kevin's doorstep to be like, bitch, I'm real. You better believe in me.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. It was pantomiming the shh.
But it actually, because she described that she heard it go shh.
Oh, okay.
So that's the closest one has ever come to talking. It moved its big rib cage because that's what it had for a hand. It was
rib cage fingers.
Rib cage fingers, and it went shh. And it was mocking William, being like, you told him to shut up, now I'm going to tell you guys to shut up. And then he goes, okay, I'm going to frolic into the woods. Goodbye. But with none of the words and just all of the dramatic flair of that. Again, I feel like we're getting so close to the end. We've only got, I think about 5 chapters left.
Oh, yeah.
And there's so many unanswered questions that hopefully get answered. I hope they get answered. Maybe... But here's the thing. Not every question needs to be answered. But I'm nervous. I'm going to say that. I am nervous for stuff because this seems very spooky. Is Skye going to actually come face to face with the forest monster, the voice of the wind? Is she going to come face to face with other stuff, other creepy stuff? I
mean, it feels like it's leading up to it. It was always the deal was, I'm going to give you back your sister, but then this feels more like, you have to come to me directly.
Mm-hmm. And, like, take her from me, basically.
Yeah, like a weird handoff type thing.
Yeah. I wonder if this will explain the swamp and the rose bush and all the weird shit.
Yeah, all the dying stuff.
Yeah, and, like, what is it with the invader shit?
Yeah, I don't know. It's so weird.
But, yeah, so that's where I'm at. So what did we learn today?
I've learned that, apparently bone creatures can go shush. Even though it got no lungs.
Maybe it was just, like, the wind blowing through the hollow bones. And it just sounded like whoosh.
And I learned, don't trust William with a bow. He'll shoot you in the back.
I don't know where he shot his dad.
It had to have been the back. There's no way he'd shot his dad in the chest.
Do you think that was his dad's shirt? I just assumed he used his shirt to, like, sop it up.
Maybe.
And his dad was like, "It's okay, William, shit happens."
Just that meme of the dad just sitting there with the arrow in his shoulder in the ER room.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
You learn anything fun?
I learned computers are for smart people. And I learned that I am not a smart person. I also learned that you've been sitting on for this whole fucking season, by the way. Not once did you mention this before, that you sacrifice your goddamn Warframes.
I haven't really played with that before. It's just like, it's a thing I recently was able to start doing, but I haven't used it very much.
And you sacrifice it for no real purpose other than your own amusement, to be like, I wonder what this power looks like on this Warframe.
No, it was the actual reason, the real reason. I ran out of space to hold Warframes, so I needed to get rid of some.
Oh my god!
That's the real reason.
You're almost as bad of a monster as Sky.
I didn't want to spend in-game currency for more slots. I had a 75% off discount, and the game is free.
That's barbaric, man. That is fucked up.
Yeah, you should see the animation they have for it. It's pretty fucked up.
Oh my god. I feel almost as betrayed as when I found out that Sky is an attempted murderer. I felt pretty betrayed at that, and now I feel betrayed by this information.
We thank you guys all for listening.
Excuse me, socials.
So you should hit us up.
Where?
On our email.
Email? Oh my gosh. potofsass@gmail.com.
Follow us on Instagram.
You are crazy, by the way. You can follow us on Instagram at a pot of sass.
You should also check out our awesome Patreon.
And donate if you're feeling so inclined. Patreon.com/a pot of sass and sarcasm.
We have a couple bonus episodes up on there now.
And we're working on some new ones, which I think are really going to be exciting. And definitely not like what we've got going on here. Just some new, different stuff.
Yeah, new ideas.
We seriously hope that you keep listening after whatever Hot Mess Express comes out of this episode.
Remember to stay sassy.
Whoa, you said it! Wow! Don't stay as sassy as the Eldritch Monster in Warframes, though. That's really scary. Later. The quiet turns glacial, miles thick. Are you fucking kidding me?
I don't, that's gotta be a regular system notification. It's 10 minutes before my do not disturb.
You get a notification about it?
No, I just got a text.
Are you not gonna turn your volume down in case you get another one in the next 10 minutes?
It is my uncle, so I might get another one. This is my uncle. This is my uncle telling me about a cool fungus that he saw in the woods that I didn't walk over to look at.
Awesome.
So I was like, because none of us had our phone on us. So we were like, dang, I wish I got a picture of that.
And you're sure he's not going to text you again?
I put it on vibrate.
Okay.
So we'll hear a brrr.
Oh my god.